Hi guys, Marty Wynn here, Sleep Intermissions. Thank you for stopping in and listening to me talk for a few minutes. I'm going to try to keep it real short and sweet. That's part of the plan as far as these talks. The question of the day: what item do you or your family have the worst luck at or luck with? Well, I will be honest in saying that my family, which as far as I know started with my dad, has the worst luck with weed trimmers. And for some reason, I don't think he's ever had one that's lasted more than 2 seasons. And I don't know, he has some mechanical engineering background. He went to school for automotive. I know that's not the same thing, but, you'd think that, he would be able to maintain a weed whacker or weed trimmer, whether it be electric or gas. And that's not the case. Just for the fact that I know that growing up, especially as a teenager, I remember hearing him out in the garage cussing up a storm. And he was out there by himself, other than the weed whacker. And usually what would happen, we would listen to him go through that routine for about a day and a half. Of course, he was a businessman, wasn't inclined to be out there spending days on working on something. But he would usually stand it up in the corner and go buy a new one. And I was asked a lot of times when I had friends come over and would go out in our 8-horse stall barn, does your dad collect weed trimmers? No, those are ones he can't get working again. And I thought, well, it's just his bad luck, or his, not his forte as far as having those kind of things working in great order. I know he knows how to check gas and mix gas and oil and whatever that ratio is. And of course, I didn't question it too much, because I personally didn't care too much as a teenager, as long as I didn't have to do it. But as I started having kids, of course, I ended up again with 4 boys. And you start picking up on things. And my husband's pretty good at maintaining our stuff. Every once in a while we have issues that are going on, like right now. But I remember when my sons were, I think they were late middle school, early high school. And I was watching them out the back door. And they were out there messing with something. And, they were always doing something. They were very competitive, always wanted to work on it together, and usually arguing over it together. And they were working on a weed trimmer. And they were out there. I'm going to tell you, it was comical. It was almost like it was a skit. You'd see them ripping that cord, trying to get it started, because it wasn't an automatic starting weed trimmer. And I just stood there watching them, and then that one that was working on it would get mad and say, give me that, just give it to me. And then he'd rip it. And then he'd do it until he was exhausted. And they just kept going back and forth, and they'd sit there, and I know they were saying things out there that they shouldn't have been, but I couldn't hear them, so they were not in trouble yet. But I stood there looking outside the screen door, watching them too, and I thought, well, I wonder if they primed it. And I put my mouth at the screen door between the crack and the door jamb, and I said, hey guys, did you prime that before you started trying to get it started with the cord? And they just looked at each other, and their shoulders dropped. And they looked at each other like, really? And they kind of act like they weren't going to see if it needed to be primed while I was standing there. God forbid their mom might know something beyond what they've been working on for about the past 45 minutes. But I stepped back away from the screen, And I seen him pump that prime button on that weed trimmer, and one held it and the other one pulled it real hard. It started, and they were hot. They were so mad at me. I didn't do anything. I was trying to help, but it did start. And they come in, and I heard them under their breath saying, "Can you believe that she said that?" And it started. We stood out there for 45 minutes. Where was she at while we were doing that? And I didn't tell them, but I was watching them on and off trying to get that weed trimmer started. So I'm sure that when they see this, they will recall and have a lot to say about that situation, but we haven't had the best of luck with weed trimmers. And of course, I don't maintain them. I don't work on them, but I know that I've stood around and watched everybody else have problems with them and learned a few things, just a few. But, you know, I'm sure that they'll be totally ecstatic when they hear me share this, but things are very comical, you know, if you just stand back and watch for a few minutes and just kind of observe for a little bit and just pick up on what's going on. But do you guys have something in your family that seems to be passed from generation to generation as far as things that don't work for you or your family? Evidently I do. Not me personally, but in my family it is. But I'll be back tomorrow, and I will come up with a new question. I have a few that I've been thinking about. Thanks. See you tomorrow. Bye.